Today, in the media conference with Lal Goel, which is brought to you by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, Organ Donation India Foundation, and Gyan. Our endeavor is to enlighten you with the current topic. And today's topic is not only current, but very, very relevant. But before I will go to the topic, I would like to inform you that today's program is in association with Indo-Gulf Management Association. And today, the world is observing International Mountain Day. International Mountain Day is observed on December 11. International Mountain Day was designated by the United Nations General Assembly in 2003. The General Assembly encouraged the international community to organize events at all levels on that day to highlight the importance of sustainable mountain development. International Mountain Day is observed every year with a different theme relevant to sustainable mountain development. FAO is the UN organized mandate to lead observance of International Mountain Day. The world's most spectacular landscape are facing threats in every way. Climate change and global warming, bad farming practices, logging, commercial mining, and poaching are taking a heavy toll on mountain biodiversity. Plastic pollution is also threatening the fragile environment. Sustainable management of mountain biodiversity has been increasingly recognized as a global priority. Media conference with Lal Goel hopes that better sense will prevail and people will take care of mountains. Now coming to the main topic, does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? An entrepreneur is an individual who creates a new business, bearing most of the risks and enjoying most of the rewards. The process of setting up a business is known as entrepreneurship. The entrepreneur is commonly seen as an innovator, a source of new ideas, goods, services, and business or procedures. More narrow definitions have described entrepreneurship as the process of designing, launching, and running a new business, which is often similar to a small business, or as the capacity and willingness to develop, organize, and manage a business venture along with any of its risks to make a profit. The people who create these businesses are often referred to as entrepreneurs. While definitions of entrepreneurship typically focus on the launching and running of businesses due to the high risk involved in launching a startup, a significant proportion of startup businesses have to close due to lack of funding, bad business decisions, government policies, and economic crisis, lack of market demand, or a combination of all of these. In the field of economics, the term entrepreneur is used for an entity which has the ability to translate inventions or technologies into products and services. In this sense, entrepreneurship describes activities on the part of both established firms and new businesses. The Indian education system is the world's second largest higher education system with more than 1,000 universities, 45,000 colleges, and a capacity of enrolling more than a whopping 20 million students. Higher education institutions in India offer courses, degrees that are competitive in the world markets in terms of quality. The Indian education system is vast in size as well as its academic offerings. A vibrant and diverse education system means a wide variety of courses are available from the modern and cutting edge to the traditional. Indian education ranges from exposure to the latest advancement of science and technology like virtual and augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and cognitive computing to yoga, Ayurveda, Sanskrit, and classical dances. These vastness of the Indian education system directly translates to enhanced opportunities for its students and global learning for an all-around academic and personal development. Flourishing IT and services sector has led to a robust placement-oriented education, as about 200 of the Fortune 500 companies hire regularly from Indian campuses. Now, to discuss that whether does Indian education produce entrepreneurs, we have two very elite, well-qualified, experienced, those who are authority in this field. Chief guests are with us, and I would like to introduce my first chief guest. He is Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal is the president of Indo-Gulf Management Association, Dubai, UAE. He is ranked among the 251 most fabulous global education leaders. Welcome, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal on our show. Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal, you being a person who is associated with management. In India, we are producing very good students who are being taken, as I read the report, the 200 out of 500 Fortune companies. But does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? We would like to know from Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal, please. Please unmute.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, for giving us such a wonderful start to see the context and to see the background in which we are discussing such a wonderful topic, entrepreneurship. Since we are all here from India and we all understand Hindi, so I would like to begin with the thing that I used to hear, at least in my good old days when I was growing up, and that one was that बेटा पढ़ ले नहीं तो दुकान पे नौकरी करेगा या अपने बाबा के साथ दुकान में बैठना पड़ेगा. Now that was the kind of bias that we had, that if you are educated you will get a job, if you are not educated you will have to sit in the shop or in the store with your father or others and all that. Now this also showed one more side of our higher education institutions, especially universities and colleges, that they were never seen traditionally as a place from where the businessman or entrepreneurship or new business idea champions will come out. It was a very clear, I would say, affirmation of that Macaulay system, that we are only creating babus or bureaucrats, and we are only creating people who will be obedient servants of these babus. So these people were supposed to be the process drivers rather than disruptors. Well, in the modern sense, if you see, universities and colleges, they are seen as the places of idea disruption, idea creation, and idea progression, which has not been seen in the past before. Look at the three top management, top three techno companies that we have in the world, whether it is Facebook, whether it is Google, whether it is Qualcomm, all of them were started on campus. All of them used the talent power of fellow students. All of them used the combined guidance and experience of their faculty. And all of them used the encouraging climate on the particular universities or universities that we have, so that they could reach to the point where they could say things like that. If I can just further that particular thing a little bit more, today in the world, there are several funds which are available, entrepreneurship funds which are available, which have been created only and only for campus ideas, campus entrepreneurship, and campus startups. And these funds are not only for them, but they're also managed by students. So it is not that they are being managed by people who have a business interest only. These, like for instance, one of the ones which I am really trying hard one day to bring it to Dubai is the Campus Capital. The one which is based in UK, Manchester, and which is trying to bring new ideas, capital for them. So therefore, they are only providing growth-oriented ideas of students, which are totally and totally for students on campus. Early stage investment now. Now, so as you can see, it is not just walk, it is not just talk, it is also walk the talk. They are not only having good students, good faculty, good encouragement environment, but also the Dow, as the Americans would say, or the money or the resources that they require. Now compare these things to our universities, let's say up to 2000. I wouldn't put the last 20 years or 15 years, because university systems in India have changed drastically in the last 15 years, which I will talk later, how they are helpful to our economy. If we look into our economy, 80% of our income, wealth, money comes from the informal sector. Informal sector means these small people, outlets, stores, rural markets, rural artisans, or those people who are helping the corporate world through contract labor, through subcontracting. So many things they are there. And still we have no education for these people. So not only the full-time students are receiving no further guidance from the Indian education system, especially at the higher level, but even the informal sector, which could also receive wonderful re-education, further education, continuing education. Like for instance, if we look into the areas where universities can help these informal sectors or these people who are already in the business, is in some kind of linkages with the last mile delivery, like, in the food chain, we have got Talaba or others, or Zomato. Now, all these people can provide a very, very big push to their turnover, to their revenue, if they are taught how to connect, or if they are helped how to connect. So not just teaching, but helping. Similarly, the mobile payment system like Paytm and others, they could also be arranged so that these people can make better money and better margins, and they are part of our mainstream. So even continuing education to this informal sector has not been there in the case of Indian higher education system, especially up to 2000. Of course, honorable exceptions are there. For instance, we have got one of the finest institutions only and only for entrepreneurship in Ahmedabad, EDIII, and that particular thing has done that. So let us not take away the credit from them. But if we look into all other universities, the incubators, the entrepreneurs, all that they have come. I'll come back later. I'm having a little bit difficulty in speaking, but at this moment, I would like to say that up to 2000, university system wasn't that great as it could be said about entrepreneurship. But please excuse me for at this moment. I'll come back later on. Thank you, Mr. Goel.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal, for giving your views. And Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal very rightly said about the entrepreneur. And I would like to inform, although I know that now people are aware because lots of advertisement is on, that Kejriwal Delhi government started a program called Business Blasters across all its senior secondary schools since in the September only, by giving rupees 2000 as seed money to class 11th and 12th students to develop their entrepreneurship ideas. And in that, many of the top web companies, they are giving them the free listing where they can sell and purchase the products. So now governments, I'm sure the other governments will follow what Mr. Kejriwal has come out. It's a very new thing. And what Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal is saying about the university level, they have started from the 11th and 12th. And I'm sure once you will develop, the students will start developing, a youth will start developing on this age, definitely that change will be there. Thank you very much, Prof. Are you okay? Now you would like to speak, or shall I go to the next panelist?
I can take, yes, thank you. So thank you for allowing me this liberty. Today I'm not too well, so that's the reason. Now, if we look into the universities after 2000, there has been substantial change in India, substantial response from the university system to this particular part of our life, that is entrepreneurship. For instance, I would say a growing number of universities and colleges now have incubators, now have entrepreneurship cells. Also, they have got many other idea cells which are run by the students. And as a result, there's a much, much more positive change, positive outlook towards the entrepreneurship. The second is that the syllabus of the universities and colleges now also have, and widely so, a course on entrepreneurship, introduction to entrepreneurship, or even the entire electives on that. It means we are talking about 5 or 6 courses on that itself. And I'm not just talking about EDII, I'm referring to many other business schools also, which are having like marketing, like HR, like strategy. They have a specialization in entrepreneurship or new business ideas. So they have that kind of thing. The third is that university systems also have now got a new designation, which is called Professor of Practice. Now, Professor of Practice are those people who are coming from industry, may not have a solid research publication, a portfolio with them, but they have a tremendous amount of work experience portfolio. They have managed the risk, they have created the risk, they have absorbed the risk, and they have also initiated the risk when they were executives, either CEOs and all. So therefore, that particular thing helps a lot. The professor of practice helps a lot higher education system as well as universities in terms of going towards that. The next also is that many business schools and colleges, now they have created their own fund. Like they are creating for placement, they are also giving for entrepreneurship. And that particular fund is available to their students to make some kind of a startup business plan, along with faculty, along with students, along with other, visiting faculty from industry. In other words, they are touching all stakeholders into this particular aspect and helping them. Now, from the macro perspective also, these universities and colleges have received a very, very good support from the government. And one scheme I would really like to highlight is Atal Innovation Mission. Atal Innovation Mission has been, in my opinion, a game changer in India, which is housed in the Planning Commission or Niti Aayog, now that we call it, and where, this particular thing is providing very, very clear, I would say directions, funding also, partnership also, so that the universities can focus on focused aspects of entrepreneurship, whether it is a fintech, whether it is services, whether it is something else, but they are providing focused attention and focused incubation and focused guidance of Atal Innovation Mission. I definitely consider it as a very, very good thing. The other thing is also, and this is the last point I would like to make in terms of new universities, that many universities now have, or business schools now have, a method of what is known as deferred placement. Deferred placement means that if a student wants to pursue entrepreneurship and doesn't want to be on campus for jobs, like campus placement and all, they will allow such students to come back to their campus maybe in 2 years or 3 years, and again participate in the placement if for those particular reasons they want to pursue. I thought this is a wonderful idea. Otherwise, parents of these students, they may think that I will miss the bus of the placement, so let me take the placement and thereafter, think about it. Here they are saying no problem, you can come back to placement season again after 2 years, but for those 2 years you want to try entrepreneurship, go for it. I think this is a fantastic, opportunity being given by higher education universities. And finally, you and I have discussed it a number of times, that how this new education policy has become a positive additive value to this entrepreneurship, where internship is being allowed at a very, very lower level of education, say 8th standards and after. I think this is a fantastic idea, because this way you will be able to teach them, help them learn what business is, and hopefully many of those people later on will say, instead of being an employee, I would like to be an entrepreneur. Please keep always in mind that such entrepreneurship qualities are also sought after by universities among their employees whom they are taking as employees, because there is something called entrepreneurship also, which means they would want their employees to work as if they are entrepreneur within the particular organization and create wealth for them. So they want entrepreneurial thinking into employees. So entrepreneurship is not for those who just want to start their business. Entrepreneurship is also for those who would like to seek a safe harbor in the case of some kind of a paid job, in the kind of certain jobs, in the kind of certain income. Because after all, there are people who cannot take risk because of their financial situation or family situation, but they shouldn't be barred from thinking like entrepreneurs if they are joining the companies, and the companies also allow them to follow their ideas or dreams for the company with the resources of the company, without minimizing the risk. So to sum it up, I believe that Indian education system is now getting much more geared, much more ready for this kind of entrepreneurship. Students are ready, faculty is ready. I would say, yes, it requires much more, because this is just like a drop in the ocean, right? But I am very hopeful and very positive about this for our country. Thank you very much, Mr. Goel, for your opportunity.
Thank you very much, Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and he is the chief guest. He's Professor Dr. Sunil Patil. Professor Dr. Sunil Patil is a renowned educationist, mentor for startups, consultant for outsourcing based at Pune. Professor Sunil Patil has been director of Symbiosis Institute of Digital and Telecom Management, SIDTM Pune. He has worked with the International Institute of Information Technology, IIIT, as professor and dean academics. He has worked for 20 years at AT&T Bell Labs in New Jersey, USA. He is passionate about entrepreneurship. He has co-authored a book on empowerment of faculty in engineering education. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sunil Patil on our show. Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, you have heard what Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal has mentioned. Now, we would like to know your views on does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, and good morning to all of you. Good morning from Pune, India. It's an interesting topic for the discussion today. And Dr. Agarwal actually broke down his speech in two parts, pre-2000 and post-2000. Now, let's see how this topic has importance in the current scenario. First of all, understand 90 to 95% jobs in the US every year are created by entrepreneurs, small to medium-sized companies. These are not created by IBMs and Hewlett Packards and AT&T, who are the giant companies. They are actually created by mom and pop shops. So the key job creation activity is actually done by entrepreneurs in United States. Now, come back to India. In case of India, entrepreneurship is not new. As Dr. Agarwal pointed out, you walk the street and every street on both sides, you will see entrepreneurs. There is a barber shop, there is a tea stall, there is a kirana dukan. So all these guys are entrepreneurs. Now, they may not have a formal education of what entrepreneurship is all about. But in most cases, actually, these activities are driven by economic reasons. Since their education level is limited and they have no other way of livelihood or they can do anything else, so they get into these professions. And most of these guys actually have acquired some skills while working somewhere else, and then they start their own. A barber shop started by someone has actually worked as a barber somewhere or has worked in a family business, which also happens to be a barber shop, and that continues. So India has actually over the years very large percentage of entrepreneurs with no formal education of entrepreneurship, and that continues. Now, if we come back to Indian education system, which is one of the largest in the world, 1,000+ universities and thousands of colleges, the key question is whether this system has created and is creating entrepreneurs who can not only start businesses in India, but also at a global stage. So what I'm going to do is actually split this in two parts, because the two key stakeholders in these discussions are, one is the faculty, who is a teacher, and the other one is a student. So these two key stakeholders are the ones who will either make it or break it the outcomes of the system, whether it's entrepreneurs or something else. So let's first of all look at faculty and the institutes and the management. Are these components of education system on the same page of entrepreneurship or not? In my opinion, I have been in academics for a few years now, and in my opinion, what I have seen is last few years, yes, there has been discussion on entrepreneurship. There has been discussion on starting incubators in the campus, and then try to understand why are they doing all this? What is the undercurrent below this? Many institutes are actually starting these programs out of necessity of actual assessment by regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies, when they visit campuses and when they review the curriculum, they want to see whether you are teaching entrepreneurship, whether you're offering courses in entrepreneurship. Do you have an incubator on campus? Are the students actually coming out with ideas? Now, to make sure that all these questions are answered yes or positively, they have to do something. The institute managements or university managements have to do something. So set up some small shop and say, call it as an incubator, or show it in the curriculum. We are teaching a course on entrepreneurship. So the key question is, with this infrastructure which institutes or universities are providing out of compulsion, I personally think it is being done out of compulsion because of regulatory bodies coming down heavily on institutes. Is it really helping? Now let's look at the other side, which is students. Are the students being groomed to be entrepreneurs? That's one. And second, what is the thought process? What is the mindset of students? When the students are joining higher education, from day one, the discussion is placements. The day one, the discussion is about the package. What package I'm going to get? Which companies are going to visit campus? As a matter of fact, the admissions in an institute is most of the times based on the track record of the institute. That how are the students getting placed? What are the salaries they are making? Which companies they are placed? Very rarely a potential student actually asks a question, how many startups have started from this institute? How many successful startups? That question is not asked by students also. Students are basically looking at placements. So there are two sides of the coin, the institute and students. So we cannot, if I say Indian education system has not delivered so far in creating entrepreneurs, then it's a very simple answer for a very complex problem. And as I said, the stakeholders, both or all the parties have to come on board. Now, coming to entrepreneurship education. What is entrepreneurship education? There are myths about entrepreneurs in students. And before I get into the myths, I also need to highlight why students are constantly talking about placements and packages and how much money am I going to make. Many students are actually coming to colleges and graduating colleges with a certain amount of loan on their back. Either they have a loan or their parents have taken a loan. So most of them can't even think of starting or taking a risk and starting something on their own, because the constant thought is, I have to pay this loan. My parents have to actually clear this loan, which I had to take for education. And it's primarily because of the fee structure. The fees are exorbitantly high, which are very prohibitive even for students to think beyond placements and actually getting a job or starting something on your own and taking risk. So there are so many sides of these questions which need to be answered. Now, coming to the institutes again, many institutes are setting up incubators. Are the faculty members actually qualified to manage these incubators? Are the faculty members really have been interacting with the industry? Because for entrepreneurship courses and programs to be successful, the faculty members have to be very closely collaborated with industries. They really need to work with them and see what the real world is and bring that expertise and knowledge to the incubators and the students. Is that happening? Probably not. And if you look at India, if you look at Indian education system, 70% of this country actually lives in villages, rural areas. 70% of the education system of this country is in the rural areas where there is hardly any infrastructure even to teach. Forget about entrepreneurship. Extremely poor infrastructure, highly unqualified faculty members who cannot even speak correctly. Talk about research in entrepreneurship. They have no clue of what the research and how the research needs to be done. They are basically teaching colleges and producing numbers. And even the numbers which are coming out of colleges, when apex body like NASSCOM says 80 to 90% university graduates from India are unemployable. They are not even talking about entrepreneurship. That is the fact. That is the ground reality today in India. 70-80% of education system which exists in rural area has not been able to even create students who can be employed. Forget about starting any ventures on their own. Now come back to the urban areas. And Dr. Agarwal rightly pointed out the new education policy is talking about internship. True, internship is very important. In American education system or Western education system, a student who is registered, enrolled in 4-year program or a graduate studies master's program is closely connected with industry during internship. Every year, he or she goes to the industry for 2-3 months during their vacation and works with the industry and comes back to join the next semester. Is that happening in India? No, it's not. When the student joins a program, the kind of programs we have, the kind of curriculum we have, kind of teaching methodologies and pedagogies we have, the student has hardly any time. Throughout the year, the student is busy in a rote learning and memorizing everything. Where is the practice? Entrepreneurship doesn't happen simply by teaching a course. You have to practice it. You have to practice what you learn, what you discuss in the classroom. When are you going to do that? Where is the time for doing that? There is no time. Now, looking at the industry, it's okay for the industry to make a lot of noise about employability of the graduates. The issue is the industry actually stepping up to the plate to work closely with students and institutes to make sure that there is some mentoring and hand-holding that will happen so that quality students are created or graduated from the institutes who could even potentially start some businesses. Again, the answer is no. The folks or the subject matter experts in industry are so busy with their commitments to their clients and customers globally. The students, when they approach the industry, they hardly have any time which they can devote or dedicate in mentoring those students. But at the same time, these are the folks who complain about quality of students. So you can see it's a very multifaceted issue of entrepreneurship. But in my opinion, there are 2-3 very important points. One is qualified faculty, proper infrastructure, industry academia strong interface, industry willing to mentor students, and the most important, the mindset of students. I want to take risk. In our society, failure is supposed to be very bad. Nobody wants to talk about failures. Let me tell you, failure is the first thing of success as an entrepreneur. And one should not actually look at failures very negatively. Actually learn from it. See what mistakes you did and make sure in the second attempt, you don't do those mistakes. There are some entrepreneurs who actually started their ventures and then they realized that they really want to learn few more things, they have either gone back to institutes and learned those things, or they have gone back and worked for a company where they have learned those things, and then they have come out again and started a venture. So the students have to understand that once I graduate, that is not end of the line as far as my learning is concerned. That is just the beginning of your education. That is the beginning of your learning. Because now, if you are going to launch a venture, you will learn a lot. And in a very short span of time, you will learn maximum. Something takes years and years to learn in a top large companies. So learning happens very fast. But the system, education system, has to be supportive and make sure that the system is going to create entrepreneurs. Unfortunately, in my opinion at least, Indian education system so far has not done a desired job that from a large system is expected. There are premier institutes in India. There are IITs and IIMs and NITs, and people always talk about those, and many entrepreneurs are coming out of those institutes, which is great for India. But if you look at 1,000 universities, the premier institutes actually make hardly 10%. 90% of the system is not IITs and IIMs and NITs. Those 90% of the education system, the institutes in that part, or 90% of the part, is actually not talking about entrepreneurs, don't have funds to talk about entrepreneurs, don't have faculty who can teach students to create entrepreneurs, and there's no infrastructure. And by the way, their industry academia interface is extremely weak, because the institutes which are tier 2, tier 3 institutes in villages and small cities, there are no companies there. Most of the companies are in a very few pockets of the country, the Bangalore, the NCR, the Mumbai and Pune. But there are a large number of universities and institutes which are away from these. And most of the interface of these universities is actually saturated and consumed by the institutes in urban areas. So the institutes in rural areas are not creating entrepreneurs. But does that mean that the institutes in rural areas is a gone case? No. Actually, there is something called rural pruners. So institutes in rural areas, the faculty members in rural areas should start teaching students that we don't need to look at actually the urban areas or the companies. Look at our own lifestyle. Look at what we need. Look at what our needs are. And let's start addressing those needs by starting some ventures. There is no need for these institutes to always look at companies based in Mumbai, Pune, and NCR. They should start creating entrepreneurs locally for local population to solve local problems. And I think the opportunities will be tremendous. So the system has to be open. Students have to have a mindset, and both have to work together. I think India can do it. The changes will happen, I think. The NEP 2020 will be implemented over a period of time. I tend to be a little skeptic. By 2030, 35, it is expected the NEP 2020 will be implemented. I have my doubts, because if you look at NEP 86, NEP 68, which are the education policies published before, most of the recommendations from those policies are not even implemented today. And you see those in new policy, which is 2020. So I dare to say that everything that is recommended in NEP 2020 may not be implemented by 2035. I just hope and pray that most of the critical components are implemented. Lastly, entrepreneurship education should not be limited to higher education institutes. My take is entrepreneurship should be talked about even in schools, primary schools, secondary schools. Why not? These are teenagers who can think very smartly. They have access to information. Let's ignite the fire. They can be entrepreneurs. Why not create exceptional entrepreneurs at the age of 15 and 16 in the country? Why do we have to wait till we graduate from universities? So I would expect the entrepreneurship discussion even at high school levels. And the teachers have to change their mindset. They are not there to fill the pail. They are there to fire, to ignite the fire on the students. I hope this will happen in NEP 2020 implementation. I hope it happens in time, and India will be very successful in creating excellent entrepreneurs because we can do it. We have done it in many countries outside. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Goel.
Ignite the fire in students, says Professor Dr. Sunil Patil. And Professor Patil has raised many important points. I will just highlight few. He says that today the condition is that, that everyone wants to see what is the placement in the higher studies. And this is fact. And I can say very confidently that even Professor Patil and Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal, if they see their own time, or including me, we were taught about the values of education. We've never asked that how much money you are going to get once you will be graduated or post-graduated. We were said, if you will become a doctor, engineer, or a businessman, or whatsoever, a professor, the values in your society, how you are going to give, and what position you are going to get, what respect you are going to get. Never our parents has taught, even our professors or teachers have said how much money you are going to get. But that today, he rightly said that it is everything is money, that even the students want to know how much package the last batch has got, and that's why they would like to join. And even the universities are highlighting. I just saw 2 days back in Chennai University says 2 crore 5 lakhs package was giving to a student. Now just imagine the condition of a student who is going to enter. He will ask the same question, how much maximum package your university is think. Secondly, he mentioned about the fees is very high. There's no doubt about it. And one of my earlier discussions, everybody says the fees is very high. It should be reduced. Otherwise, it will be the higher education will be limited only for those who can afford to go, not for everyone. He said about the unemployability, because unemployability is because the skill is not there. They are not trained, properly trained. And he rightly said 80% or 90% of our youth are unemployable. So the fault lies even in the youth also, as well as the professors or the teachers or the educators, because that type of quality education which is required is lacking. And then a very important point he mentioned about that the professor, the teachers, or the society has to become mentors instead of that just teaching. So again, I will repeat that Kejriwal Delhi government model. In this, they are asking from the general public, the civil society, whosoever can give 10 minutes every day or a week for mentoring the students. And that's a ordinary thing. But this is a very good thing. If civil society take up that, if I will give 10 minutes or whatsoever time for mentoring the students, sitting at my home or just going to that school or college, what is the harm in that? Then only we can expect that we will be creating, the Indian education system will create entrepreneurs. Thank you very much, Professor Sunil Patil. Although you have given so many points, if I will summarize, it will be the entire program. But yes, very, very important points, what you and Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal has given. Thank you very much. Now, I would like to invite my youth guest. And I would like to invite my first youth guest, and she is Sri Sushma. Miss Sri Sushma, you have heard what our chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal, as well as Professor Dr. Sunil Patil has spoken, and they have given their details. We would like to know your views on, does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? First, you introduce yourself and then please speak.
Yes, sir. So good morning, everyone. I'm Sushma, pursuing BBA second year from Shahid Sukhdev College of Business Studies, Delhi University. I'm interning at IGMA as a digital marketing executive. Now I'll be discussing on the topic, does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? So firstly, entrepreneurship is the most determining factor for the industrial growth of any country. There are various government initiatives being undertaken in recent years to develop entrepreneurial skills in learners, like Make in India, Startup India, Skill India, and Artificial Innovation Mission in Niti Aayog, as mentioned by Mohan sir. And these are intended to transform the Indian economy into entrepreneurial one. Though India is witnessing many initiatives in this direction, it is still required more sustained efforts in the domain of entrepreneurship education. There are few institutes which offer entrepreneurship education as a discipline, as we also have in our college, and there are some that offer it as a part of the vast syllabus. But the question remains whether these initiatives are enough to push entrepreneurship to a scale that India desires. It is good to note that society is waking up to the grip of entrepreneurship. Some studies also reveal that a majority of youth in our country is still interested in securing a well-paying job. Very few take the decision to pursue entrepreneurship as a career, and a few examples of failure will further discourage those potential entrepreneurs too. So, the entrepreneurship education in academic curriculum is an important factor in encouraging effective youth entrepreneurship. And generally, a cultural experiential learning will provide students an opportunity to learn from the professional world and thereby help them in their entrepreneurial journey. So for this, the entrepreneurs are not necessarily born, but could be nurtured, developed through trainings as well. And it's a common observation that in countries where entrepreneurship has been flourishing, the management and professional institutions or colleges play a key role in promoting entrepreneurship. Institutions in these countries design structured entrepreneurship programs, courses, entrepreneurship cells, placement cells, internships to ensure that students give a thought to choose the path of becoming entrepreneurs. So in this developing world like India, entrepreneurship is picking up gradually, but salaried jobs still predominate. Here, what needs a mention is that countries are experiencing a scenario where job opportunities are becoming less and they are giving many reasons to promote entrepreneurship. The important point here is that the entrepreneurship is also guided by knowledge. Like courses on entrepreneurship develop an individual to analyze opportunities and take initiatives based on calculated risk. They are trained in creating, developing, nurturing an enterprise by imparting knowledge on procedures, legal aspects, business environment, skills of managing people, money, material markets, and all. So strengthening entrepreneurship education will impact the entire entrepreneurial environment, as it will ensure the development of skills that are required to generate an entrepreneurial mindset and will develop future leaders who can solve more complex and integrated problems. It will also be helpful for the SMEs, small and medium enterprises, who wish their future generation to grow their family business, as mentioned by Sunil sir. In India, most of the businesses are family owned and most of these do not have succession plans. That's why they are not able to continue those businesses that have already introduced by their family members. And since entrepreneurship is closely connected to innovation, education in developing countries like India will also have to focus on the rising of innovation capabilities of aspiring entrepreneurs or students in order to ensure high success ratio. The development of any country is directly linked to its innovation potential. So more developed economies tend to have higher levels of education and more diverse industrial sector profiles. So this combining with the advanced technology encourages new age entrepreneurs to become more innovative. Universities or institutions in India have begun to respond by creating incubators and entrepreneurship cells where a student get access to the right resources and guidance from faculty, as well as the mentors from the business world, like Sunil sir has mentioned. In addition to this, student-run organization promotes peer learning and creating a vibrant community. Government policies are also enhancing their potential to, they support the entrepreneurial ecosystem, but it's a matter of time that these initiatives help in entrepreneurship development in India. So apart from improvement in education and training, along with government policies, factors like financial support, economic climate, commercial infrastructure, and social cultural norms play a pivotal role in growth of entrepreneurship in India. So today's education system is more like focus on theoretical rather than developing real problem solving skills. The focus is on writing papers and making grades and not maximizing any employability or experience. We need more work experience. So opportunities for students to work at not just one, but a variety of different startups and businesses to give them hands-on experience. The entrepreneurial skill set is one learned through experience only, as mentioned by all the speakers today. And the encouragement of student entrepreneurs should be a key component, as it is a key factor on economic growth and development of countries, providing employment and enhancing productivity, contributing to high levels of creativity and innovation, creating wealth, especially after
Please
this
be
COVID
brief.
pandemic. Yeah. So finally, I would say that it is incorrect to say that Indian education system is not producing entrepreneurs. It is producing, but not in mass, due to lack of requisite facilities, outdated or out of context with respect to present society, is unable to create interest among young learners. But still, there are so many successful entrepreneurs existing in India who is excelling in this domain and contributing to economy till date. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shri Sushma. You have any question for our chief guest?
No, sir.
Okay, so thank you very much, Ms. Shri Sushma. And you have rightly said that the students or youth wants to go more for the jobs, secure jobs, and instead of going to for the entrepreneurship. But yes, if it will be nurtured, definitely the students can go for the entrepreneurship. Thank you very much, Ms. Shri Sushma, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my next youth guest, and he is Mr. Sanjay P. Menon. Mr. Sanjay P. Menon, you have heard our chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal, as well as Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, as well as the earlier youth guest. We would like to know your views on, does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? Mr. Sanjay P. Menon, please. First, introduce yourself.
Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for this enlightening session. I'm doing my PGDM majors in marketing in IFM Business School, Bangalore. And to start with the quote from famous economist T.N. Srinivasan, India has been an entrepreneurial society. We had entrepreneurial skills, but suppressed it for too long, and now it is thriving. New entrepreneurs who do not belong to the traditional business communities has begun to emerge in large numbers. But how far it is sustaining is the question. So as per the, to quote the National Knowledge Commission, 50% of the entrepreneurs experience difficulties while seeking statutory clearance and licenses. 2/3 faced hassles while filing taxes, and 60% claim to have encountered corruption. Another hurdle is in accessing reliable information on registration, procedures, finance, and other schemes. 56% claim that the paucity of quality infrastructure, especially transport, power, and telecommunication, was a critical barrier. As a result of these hurdles, the proportion of closure of units, startups, are very high in India. So, and what the government has to do is to make sure that these hurdles or these problems are not happening in the future. So only then we can assure that these startups, or we can give a more fertile place for the youth to start their entrepreneurs. And to have a proper entrepreneurial ecosystem in India, there are three major factors, which is entrepreneurial mentors and curriculum and stakeholders. Entrepreneurial mentors are the central organs of the entrepreneurship education. There should be an effective and efficient knowledge persons in the following areas. Should have entrepreneurial skills, effective teaching, training in entrepreneurship education, and no gap should be between theory and practice. In case of curriculum, it is a base of entrepreneurship education which is being built. While preparing the curriculum of the entrepreneurship education, the following points can be considered. Should provide a long-run vision for the aspirants. Entrepreneurship education should be made compulsory for all the courses. Curriculum should be employment-oriented. Barriers and hurdles while framing the curriculum should be chalked out and resolved by the experts. The curriculum should be modified from time to time as per the need of the business world in the current scenario. And at last, the stakeholders. The entire entrepreneurship education is dependent upon the stakeholders such as parents, NGOs, reaction of society, local, central, as well as state governments. Thus, the stakeholders' involvement in recruitment of entrepreneurship education mentors formation and development of curriculum, etc., are important. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Menon, for giving your views. You have any question for our chief guests?
Fine, so I'm just listening. I will.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Menon, for giving your views. Now, I would like to invite my next youth guest, and she is Ms. Shivangi Garg. Ms. Shivangi Garg, you have heard our chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, as well as Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, and earlier youth guest. We would like to know now your views on, does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? Ms. Shivangi, please.
Thank you, sir, for providing me this golden opportunity. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. I am Shivangi Garg. Currently, I am from a proverb. Formal education will make you a living.
No, Miss Garg, we can't hear you. Sorry, Miss Garg, we can't hear you properly. Your network is having problem. What I suggest, you just change the location. If you are using the mobile network. If you are using the Wi-Fi, switch over to mobile network. Otherwise, go to the other location and then rejoin, because it is not working. Meanwhile, I will go to the next youth guest. Thank you, and just try to check where the proper your range is there. Now, I would like to invite my next panelist guest, youth panel guest, and he is Mr. Vaibhav Mungra. Mr. Vaibhav Mungra, you have heard our chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, as well as Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, as well as earlier youth guest. Now, we would like to know your views on, does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? Mr. Vaibhav Mungra, please.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, everyone. And thank you, sir, for this amazing opportunities. So my name is Vaibhav Mungra, and I am from Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And currently, I am living in Pune. I am studying MBA from Indira Institute of Pune. And I am a part of entrepreneur cell in my college committee. And I am doing internship with IGMA. It's a opportunity for me, and so entrepreneurs have always been my inspiration, since my father himself is one. So I have seen him sacrifice his vacation time and free time with families in order to earn money. So the topic for today's discussion is, does Indian education create entrepreneurs? So unfortunately, Indian entrepreneurial system have not generated much interest among the students to choose entrepreneurship as an alternative career option from searching job in both public and private sector. But India has produced many entrepreneurs. Just the sad fact that most of us don't know their names, as we do of Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. All respect to this genius. So, but I assure you, some Indians people to have turned out our life to a better. Here are some examples, like starting with obvious, we have Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft, who completed his bachelor degree from Manipal Institute of Technology, and also the ex-VP of MS Cloud. And another obvious one, we have Rajiv Suri, the CEO of Nokia, and also MIT alumni. And let us not forget about the man who gave many of us our first email IDs, Sabir Bhatia, Hotmail, is a BITS Pilenia alumna, and one which I surprised many don't remember is Ajay Bhatt, the co-founder of USB. He is the MSU Baroda alumna and has 30 plus tech patents. So I think apart from the education system, our education philosophy also promote entrepreneurship quality in a student. But the sad fact is that we are made to learn by rote. This is the sad truth for the majority of us. We have always tried to quantify education using marks and percentage. We don't aim for quality, and startup don't earn money immediately. They require money, and there's the risk of failure and losing all the invested resources. So great entrepreneurs have originated from India, and this trend is likely to continue. So as Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal rightly said, more than 80% of Indians find livelihood in informal sector, which excludes from formal jobs and companies, government and other organizations. So, and the agriculture sector, which accounts for nearly half of the workforce in India, is made up almost entirely of entrepreneurs, farmers, and daily wages earners. The industrial and service sector to largely comprise of informal jobs which are fraught with risk. So managing risk is the heart of entrepreneurship, regardless of context. For example, a fruit seller on the street assumes that inordinate risk stock and an unpredictable market and price point in return for a modest reward. In the corporate world, a seasoned executive may leave her stable job at a large firm to raise angel and venture capital funding for a new business ideas. In either case, the entrepreneur's roles to minimize the control of manage risk, the require of certain set of attributes such as dealing with high level of stress, but this also requires a number of learnable skills and attributes. This could include innovation, as we say in India, jugaad. India think out of box, limitless precision. Further, the studies have established that contextual factor such as societal acceptance of and failure can increase entrepreneurial success. Clearly, entrepreneurship is a key of Indian livelihood, and entrepreneurial success is an influenceable outcome. One would then accept that education system to be aligned toward preparing student and society for entrepreneurial success. However, the system today is largely generated toward preparing a student for linear career and jobs. Even to success such as jobs, the ethos of entrepreneurship is essential. Moreover, education is no longer the realm of just a school and college-going student. It is expanding to include the learners of all ages who must periodically update their capabilities to stay relevant in changing world. For example, helping street side fruit vendor like understand mobile payments or last mile delivery could enhance her livelihood. A number of encouraging initiatives have been undertaken in the recent years to develop entrepreneurial skills, which should gather stream with the support of India's new national education policy. For example, the Atal Innovation Mission of Niti Aayog has been working to a launch startup across the country. One such center focus on the FITEX-based grassroots level will be launched in this month. So that's all.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Vaibhav Mungra, for giving your views. Although Mr. Vaibhav Mungra has mentioned one thing about the CEOs as an entrepreneur, I am not clear. I would like to take the help of Professor Sunil Patil or Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal to clarify whether we can term the CEO of a company as an entrepreneur, or the entrepreneur and CEOs are not the same. Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, if you can just enlighten us. Please unmute. Please unmute. Professor Patil, please unmute.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. I think what he mentioned, first of all, there are very few select India educated, successful CEOs. We keep harping on those. I think there are about a dozen of them. So looking at our own system and the numbers that we tend to produce every year, few dozen are making impact in these companies. It's a good thing, but again, we should not be harping on those every time. Now, number two, whether they are entrepreneurs or not, I think they are intrapreneurs. They are working in a company. They are working for shareholders. They are working under the guidance of company policies. So given that setting, there are innovations which are happening in Microsoft and Google and Cisco and other companies. These guys are providing leadership for those innovations, for offering new products and services. So to a level, there are similar things they are doing as entrepreneurs would do in their own venture. But they are called intrapreneurs. They are not exactly entrepreneurs because both have a separate classification, intrapreneurs and entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs, they take their own risk. They manage the risk. They mitigate the risk. That's what entrepreneurs do. While in case of companies, they provide leadership. They provide guidance. The risk is actually divided across the entire organization. So the scenarios for entrepreneurs and entrepreneurs is different. The CEOs, I will put them as entrepreneurs, not really entrepreneurs, because they don't own the venture. They don't own the company.
Yes.
The shareholders own it.
Yes. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sunil Patil. And as well as CEOs are there today, tomorrow they may not be there. So, but the entrepreneur who has started, unless he will not sell off the organization, he has to be there. And the main problem is the risk. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal wants to add something. I can see. Yes, please. Please unmute. Please unmute, Professor Agrawal.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the critical factors should be identified by both the university systems as well as by the policymakers. And the critical system, according to me, is the realization that Indian prosperity and peace lies in entrepreneurship rather than just creating job seekers. If that critical part is identified, then all others will fall in place. That is what I feel.
And the CEOs are basically a job. They have started their career as in the service only, so they cannot be termed, like Professor Patil has mentioned, they cannot be termed as entrepreneur. Entrepreneur can be termed, not entrepreneur. You want to say anything about that, Dr. Agrawal?
No, entrepreneurship is very, very important within the organization, because if the organization doesn't create new patents, new products, new business opportunities, and which is created by executives with entrepreneurial mind, then I think even that also as critical to the society as probably individual entrepreneurship. So corporate entrepreneurship or individual entrepreneurship, the common factor is entrepreneurship, wherever you are. So that is why I say that this should be the critical factor.
Okay, thank you very much. Now I would like to invite my next panel. You have any question, Mr. Beva, from our chief guest? Okay, thank you. Now I would like to invite my next panelist guest, and she is Miss Tejaswini Singhal. Miss Tejaswini Singhal, you have heard our chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, as well as Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, as well as earlier youth guest. Now we would like to know your views on, does Indian education produce entrepreneurs? Miss Tejaswini Singhal, please.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Tejaswini Singhal, and I have done my MBA from ABES Engineering College in 2020. And since then, I am struggling to be an entrepreneur. So this is a topic which is very close to me. So first of all, according to me, what is entrepreneur? According to me, entrepreneur is a person who solves the problem of society or fills a gap of difference with their products or services, and in return the customer who buys their products and services pay them a price. This is basically what I thought. Now it is a journey of a student from campus to entrepreneur, and this journey of a student to become an entrepreneur, there are schools and colleges who focuses on entrepreneurship development of students, called entrepreneurship campuses. We really need these type of campuses in our society to help entrepreneurs and students who want to be entrepreneur. So I am lucky enough to find a mentor, Dr. Bindu Agrawal ma'am, and with the she's a entrepreneurship coach, and she drew more than 20 years in her teaching experience in business and entrepreneurship. So she's almost starting a startup called Art of Learning, and I am lucky enough to be a part of it, and we are working on this. So I am lucky enough, and on this platform we will help people and students to pursue their dream of becoming an entrepreneur. So this is one thing which I am lucky enough to find her. And now how normal campuses can help students and help them to become entrepreneurs. It is being seen that Indian students are brilliant and can make a very good entrepreneurs because they tend to have a lot of passion and energetic and have the ability to work for long hours without getting tired. However, there is a lack of experience, credibility, and capital required, which should be filled by the campuses and colleges. So colleges can help students. Of course, they can do many things, but they are not doing it. Although for entrepreneurship, a college degree is not mandatory. Maybe this is the reason many people drop out from colleges because they see college as the hurdle in their dream of pursuing entrepreneurship. There are many examples, some of them like Bill Gates, Sandeep Maheshwari, MB Chaiwala, Digital Pratik, and many more. These are my inspirations also. But attending college can be very helpful in a sense, in a small sense, as it teaches you the soft skills. In MBA colleges, we are taught personality development, soft skills like ownership, accountability, time management, finance, prioritizing. So I'm MBA in finance, so it helps me in finance, although I'm not very interested in finance, but I have an idea of finance. So education is important. It helps me a lot and it helps students. And it make you emotionally mature. Colleges makes you emotionally mature. Now, the main question is, does the Indian education produce entrepreneurs? So according to me, no. Indian education system drastically fails in producing entrepreneurs because many people are struggling. Me myself is struggling in becoming an entrepreneur, and if I see my mindset, it is being very clerical and job oriented. Like I really feel a struggle to be an entrepreneur, despite of the fact that I want to be uh, since my childhood, because my father is a businessman. I wanted to join him in his business, but it is very difficult for me when I go there practically doing things. It is very different from the theory which I have learned in school. So because Indian education system, there is a marketer, Gary V. He's tycoon in the field of digital marketing. Gary V. He mentioned that the internet made the education system outdated globally because the information is a commodity, and this school system is working on the memorization of that information. Why do I have to do maths? Einstein, the great scientist, Einstein also mentioned that there was a incident in his life, in his school life, where he discuss with her teachers that I can calculate this with the calculator. Why do I need to memorize all these things? We can work on other things. We can do some searches, some research. So he is also not agreed with the education system of that time. So not only in India, but globally, it have outdated. I have a smartphone, and on a one click, I have all the information in my hand, on my fingertips. I can get maths. I can get any information from internet. I don't need to memorize anything. I can ask Siri, Alexa, anything. Like, it is so uncomfortably outdated globally because it is predicted, or memorization of information. In a world we have information already.
Please be brief.
Okay, sir. So it is not working for entrepreneurs, but there are many students who are successful in entrepreneurship, like Ritesh Agrawal and Praful Bilore and Digital Pratik and Ajay Bhatt. Mark Zuckerberg had started in campus also. So many students have becoming entrepreneurs, and they're my inspiration. And I hope there will be a revolution, or there will be some changes in Indian education so we can help entrepreneurs.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Tejaswini Singhal, for giving.
Can I ask her a question, Tejaswini?
Yeah, my only thing is
only
that,
one.
Okay, yeah, please go ahead.
Okay. Yes, Tejaswini, you have mentioned so many names, and they all came from that university system or were in this, and still you are not hopeful about university system for entrepreneurship. Why? You were mentioning about Bindu also, who is a very good friend of mine. She is in the university, and still you are saying that it is not for entrepreneurship.
No, sir, I am hopeful. I am still hopeful and working.
So you don't think it is there right now? You are having hope,
sir,
but you're not.
Yes, I am asking for some changes in education system.
Okay.
Okay. Although Dr. Agrawal, she has also said that she follows those who have dropped out. So according to her, even the education system is now outdated now, and no need of such type of education system. But she has made a very pertinent point. I am sure that we can keep a discussion on this, whether the education is required. The system is totally outdated and we have to change it. Thank you very much, Ms. Tejaswini, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite, I will just see, Ms. Shivangi Garg, are you there? Yes. Okay. So, yes, Ms. Shivangi Garg, please go ahead.
Am I audible now?
Yes, go ahead, please.
First of all, thank you, sir, for providing me this golden opportunity. I am Shivangi Garg. I am currently pursuing my BTech third year in Computer Science branch from Meerut Institute of Technology, Meerut. I would like to start with a proverb. Formal education will make you a living, but self-education will make you a fortune. Today, our main focus lies on the question that does Indian education really produce entrepreneurs? It's wrong to say that Indian education is not producing entrepreneur, but problem is that it's not producing in mass. One of the major problems is also that our world is not unemployment, but it's in the condition of underemployment, because every year thousands of students passes MBA, BTech and other technical degrees, but they do not have adequate skills which are required in corporate sectors. During their academics, they generally focus on the grades, not on the practical knowledge. The most burdensome aspect of our Indian education is focusing only on the books and the paperwork. I just wonder why schools or colleges are not making the education system paper-free. Education system should be imparted through computer-assisted techniques in today's world. All tasks in education system should be totally computerized. The universities have no funds to promote new research or update the present curriculum. So again, the rote learning to get marks. By that time, I start to looking for a job. Few exceptions are there who work on their
No, Ms. Garg, we have again
and
lost you. We
try to
can't.
learn some new things or create. So the few geniuses you see in the sports or in the science or other technical fields are more.
Sorry, Ms. Shivangi Garg, your net is not giving supporting you. Although you are a computer student, as you said, the engineering student, I think you must know how to tackle the net thing. Anyway, you have made your point and you have given some suggestion. Definitely our chief guests are going to reply. But next time, please see to it your internet is working properly so that you can be heard properly. Thank you very much, Ms. Shivangi Garg. We will take you in the next time. Okay. Now I would like to go to our chief guest, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, as well as Professor Dr. Sunil Patil. First, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal, you have about 2 to 3 minutes each to give the concluding things, your observations about today's youth conference, as well as your what you would like to say about on the does Indian education produce entrepreneurs. Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal.
Thank you, sir, and thank you very much for being so kind and so good to our students, because they do face difficulties and they do not know, but this is a good learning opportunity. I would still say what I said previously, that now Indian education system, both school as well as education, is getting much better geared towards entrepreneurship than it was 2 decades ago. That is number one. Number two, I also believe that the students are also much more ready to take the risk and the plunge and be ready there and come out very well. And number three, I believe most important, that the family system is also supporting young talents to take risks, to be more understanding and to be more supportive. So entrepreneurship is perhaps, in my opinion, entering into the golden era if it is not already there in India.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Agarwal, and it's entering in the golden era if it is not there in India, says Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agarwal. Now, Professor Dr. Sunil Patil, your views about today's conference.
First of all, I think what I would say is, although my talk may have highlighted some points slightly on the negative side, but again, in a forum like this, we must be very honest. We must speak reality. At the same time, we must also be hopeful for the future. And that's where I stand. I am hopeful for the future. I think Indian talent is very much recognized in India and outside India. There is no question about that. The talent needs to be groomed correctly. All this intelligence has to be channeled correctly. If we want job creators instead of job seekers, then we have to make sure that all the hooks and bolts are in place which will support them to be job creators. And if we are very serious in creating jobs, we expect them to create jobs. Let's also make sure that the infrastructure, and when I say infrastructure, it is about government systems, state level systems, any other thing that is required to support their initiative has to be in place and has to be supportive. When even Azim Premji says, I'm very shameful to bring my global clients to Bangalore in a potholes ridden streets, he is very sad. There is a recognition globally for the company. But when the clients are visiting the headquarters, the infrastructure is falling apart. So we have to make sure that entrepreneurs are going to feel very proud. The system will support them, and that's why I think I'm very.
Sir, is he audible?
Yes, please go ahead.
So
yes.
I'm hoping that the system will support these young minds. They are very creative minds. We just have to support them. As far as funding is concerned, because that seems to be the concern for many youngsters to take a jump in this. Today, the situation is rest of the world, the fund owners are looking at India. They want next Microsoft, they want next Cisco, they want next Google to come out of India. Because these are the Indians in Silicon Valley who have created Silicon Valley. So why not in India? And it's very much possible, instead of simply calling Bangalore as a Silicon Plateau compared to Silicon Valley, let's not simply call Plateau. Let's make sure that Microsoft and Cisco's and Google's and Facebook will come out of Bangalore and other cities of India. So I'm very hopeful that things will happen. I think we have talent in place and they will make it happen if we support them.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Patil. So viewers, you have seen today two expert chief guests. They have given their views. Youth guests have given their views. But who's responsible? Are we going to blame only the universities or educators or the political leadership? I think the blame also goes to the civil society. We have to understand, the parents have to understand, the families have to understand that we have to inculcate the entrepreneurship from the childhood in our own children. If we will not inculcate, then how we expect that others will guide and they will be converting to a successful entrepreneur? As Professor Mohan Agarwal earlier said that if you will not study properly, you will sit in the shop. Yes, and we have seen even whenever somebody goes for matrimonial, the first question they ask, how much is the fixed income of the bride? They never ask the bridegroom. They never ask for what is the business he's doing, how much, even if it's a startup, nobody is interested. So until unless we will not change our mindset, the civil society will not change the mindset. It is not easy for the universities or the education system to change the mindset of the youth. So the responsibility also lies with us, but very, very educative, very, very, I must say, informative things which has been told by the youth. They are aspirants. They want to come out, as Professor Agrawal has mentioned, that they want to do many things new. Professor Patil has also mentioned. Only thing is they require some proper guidance, which I am sure with the new education policy or national education policy 2020, they might be getting their answers. Not they now, they are already almost passing this thing, but the new, those new generation or those who are going there, they will be getting. So thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4 News, Global TV, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Karu News, as well as it was shown live and Facebook and YouTube. So please tune in every day for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Mohanlal Agrawal. Thank you very much,
Thank
Professor
you.
Dr. Sunil Patil. And thank you all the youth guests that you have enlightened us. And I'm sure you are also enlightened with the views which our chief guest has expressed. And thank you all of the viewers who are watching and who has seen the views of the youth as well as the chief guest. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.